The onset of communism, global communism, the financial engineering of the corporatocracy to the point of complete control structure, oligarchical control of all major corporates. Here's the game, and I'd like to play a little scenario with you. Let's talk about being a prominent CEO for a US company. Let's say Francis is CEO of company X, fairly large in the S&P 500, sells fizzy drinks, retails a couple of chips and who knows, a couple of other things. A group of tertiary lending bankers show up and say, "Hey Francis, your corporation, you're hardly using that overdraft facility we provided with you. In fact, we gave you an overhang of special capital that you could use $50 billion. We went to Corporation Y, we did them the same thing, and hey, you know, they bought their stock back. They bought their stock back and their stock's gone up a whole bunch. And you know, the interest on that debt that we're offering you, it comes real cheap. Rates are real low. They've been real low for a real long time. And you're paying out 2% dividend. You could be paying not much more than 1.5% all told. Couple of points here or there on your debt. And you would have retired all this equity, you know, all these shareholders that you got. You know, you could retire a whole bunch of shareholders. You'll hit your option numbers. You know those options you got that are underwater? Your stock price is floundering. In fact, Francis, I need to tell you, your return on equity is below your peers. And you got no debt on your balance sheet. Debt is leverage, Francis. You should be maximizing shareholder growth. And there's a place for lending on your books. And I go, no guys. Seriously, my job is as a specialist retailer of fizzy drinks and chips. And, you know, it doesn't matter what the other guys are doing. You know, interest rates don't stay low forever. You know, they don't just keep going on a downward bear cycle from Paul Faulkner, where they virtually hit 20%, all the way down to 0%. At some point, eventually, the tide turns and interest rates need to go up. These aren't normal levels of interest rate. Francis, what are you doing? All of the cycle talk. Come on. The Fed's got this under control. They're just going to do a little light bit of rising of interest rates. The politics. We're not going to let them. They aren't going to destroy the economy. You put interest rates up, that's going to be painful for people. Get used to the new normal, Francis. Your guys, your peer group are outperforming you. Their stock price is up way higher. You need to give your shares a bit of gas. And here's 50 billion of cheap money to go buy your stock back. But I thought I was given capital to invest and to make a higher rate of return, not to borrow. I thought I was here to be a better retailer in the fizzy drinks and chips department. And this is what we're doing. Our margins are better than them. Our cost processes are better. We've invested in plant. We invested in... Francis, that's so old school. You need to embrace the financial world. You need to maximize your performance. You need to leverage that up. If you make 1% here, you need to put it on the seesaw and turn it into 10% because you're maxing out. You need more debt on your balance sheet. Retire some of those equity guys. You're paying out dividends to them. You could have interest that you pay off in no time and retire your loans. The company has less of those damn equity shareholders. Oh, by the way, Francis, I've been talking to a number of pension fund managers that hold your stock. They're real disappointed that you aren't interested in gassing the share price. You know, at the end of the day, you work for the shareholders, Francis. What's all this talk about not using leverage in your business? What's all of this talk that you're a fizzy drinks guy managing a fizzy drinks company? Aren't you seeing the opportunity here? You should be hitting your option numbers. You should be giving a number of brokers lines of cash so that they can accumulate, retire some of that debt, buy up that share market, buying the dips, accumulating all those shares, retiring some of that equity, that cost of equity. It's higher than the cost of debt at the moment, man. You should be going mad in here. And those pension fund guys, well, you see, they hold 27% of your company. And they're a bit disappointed, and they're talking about wanting to put a guy on the board. In fact, possibly two guys. And, you know, we have quite a good relationship with them, and they want to put one of our bank guys, you know, on your remuneration committee as well as on the board. So, you know, you should see that the mood is changing in here. All this conservative light debt nonsense, Francis. See the game. The game is financial engineering, and it's time to play. You're being left behind. You're underperforming in terms of stock price. It isn't going to go on forever. No, guys, seriously. This is going to come to a bad end. Interest rates will go up. All these people that have borrowed way too much money to buy back their stock are suddenly going to have debt interest payment spikes when the interest rates return. It could be sudden. You could get a sudden rise in inflation. There's talk of trade wars. What if Trump brings American jobs back and then you have to pay American wages where you've all built your businesses on Chinese wages? Inflation never goes away forever. We've printed so much money. Francis, all this talk. Why aren't you hearing me? I'm afraid, let me put it to you this way, Francis. If you don't borrow from us 50 billion for the purpose of juicing your stock, you're going to be out of your job. We've spoken to your second in command, Person Y. And Person Y says he can't understand why you don't value shareholders, and it's one of the first things he would do if he was put in charge. Plus, they're not making their option targets like Company X, Z, and A. That are doing it, who are borrowing. In short, you're the laggard of the industry, and we've got other people that'll do that which you don't do. Comply or die. Francis is now in a difficult situation. He's about to lose his job as CEO of XYZ. His company is the most efficient. He's worked on the operation of the business. He is a business manager. He's cared for shareholder value and made his company better at an operational level. But unfortunately, financial leverage is everywhere. The cocaine of financial leverage has been put in front of everybody. And if you don't partake, you're part of the problem. You might rat them all out. You see, it's safe to die altogether. It's wrong to be right and be alone. You've got to follow the herd. Francis has a decision to make. Francis retires and ready to watch the whole thing blow up and watch the pieces get picked up. Who will own those corporations? Guess what? They're going to run late on their interest payments to the debts, to the banks that are lent so much money to Megacorp. They're going to then have a problem. The banks now own them. The banks will put on board members. Who owns those same banks? Well, the banks went bust themselves, and they deemed too big to fail. Government has propped them up and will keep printing money to keep them solvent. So government is keeping the life support system on bankers going, and bankers are now injecting their tertiary extracting disease into corporations like Francis's and encouraging them to make the most in the go leverage up buy your own stock craze. And when the music stops, the banks become the new owners of the corporatocracy class. And when that happens, bank members get put on the board of corporations. Now you have government who control and own banks and are compliant to government remit and rely on government to hold them up, with banker money and government created money and Fed created money. And now you also have bankers moving into capitalism itself and making sure that the companies are now compliant with government remit, banking remit, in terms of how they go about. Oh yes, and by the way, we think for your new fizzy drink, a nice transgender star should feature in all your adverts, and the LGBT issue, which affects 0.003% of the global population, needs far higher level of highlighting so that we can advance all our other social, engineering, and other plans. So we're going to be appointing a new marketing agent, and they got just the model for you, who will come with their recently removed testicles to consume your Coca-Cola drink here on the beach. It's going to be awesome. This is going to be so cool. You're going to be so cutting edge. You're going to be so at the front of the whole meme. You are going to be a star. Your stock's going to spiral right up to the moon. Let's go, 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 boys. Let's go, go, go. This is how you bring on communism into a supposed capitalist environment. Think of this. The original doctrine of America, original capitalist nation, many, many, many decades ago, and communism. Now the communism becomes more capitalistic, and the capitalism becomes more communistic. It is thesis, antithesis, and together they merge towards each other, aping the features that the other one has, until eventually you get synthesis. A social democratic branded communism, where all the major corporations are beholden to banks and government. And this is how it rolls. This is where you're being taken to.